Do any of you remember with crystal clarity a class that you took 30 years ago? So I remember one such class with crystal clarity, total recall of where it was, where I was, when it was, who was there, who was the teacher, who was what were the life lessons. The class took place in the third week in August of 1995. The people who attended the class were rabbinical students and cantorial students and Jewish educators and federation workers. The class was taught by Rabbi Elka Abrahamson, who was then a congregational rabbi along with her husband. They shared a congregation in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. She's gone on for years to lead the Wexner Foundation in Ohio. And it was at Ocean's Edge in the Cape. And the class started off with a double disconnect. I thought, what's the point of this class? It was about Sukkot, and it was in August, 2 months before Sukkot. And it was about a word I had never heard of, a tradition I had never heard of, a ritual I had never heard of until that moment. The word is Ushpizin, U-S-H-P-I-Z-I-N. Ushpizin is Aramaic for guests. And Elka Abrahamson was teaching us about this tradition, which is found in the Zohar. It's Kabbalistic, it's mystical. There's the OG form of Ushpizin, guests, is, I would say, patriarchal. You invite 7 departed biblical figures: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Aaron, Joseph, and David. There's not exactly gender balance in that one. Then there's a female version of it, which is Sarah, Rebeca, Rachel and Leah, Miriam and Deborah and Esther. And the idea of it is that each night you summon one of these biblical figures, you talk about their life story, and you connect with their legacy. Lovely. I didn't know about it, but Elka Abrahamson taught us that. But then she took it to another dimension. She wanted to invite us to think about what a personal Ushpizin would look like. What would it look like if you invited somebody in your own life who is not with you anymore, either because they passed away or for any reason, maybe you had a falling out with them, but somebody you wish could be with you in your sukkah who can't be with you in your sukkah because they're not there to be with you in your sukkah. And what she did, we were all seated in a conference room in Ocean's Edge, nice bay windows, nice view, and she had a circle of chairs, and she just put an empty chair in, and she said, I want to invite anyone, popcorn style, tell us who you would include in your sukkah right now. Just introduce us to the person you would like to talk about. And this was years before Brené Brown did her TED Talk on vulnerability and the power of sharing vulnerability. This was the power of vulnerability sharing before there was language around it. People would get up, and we didn't really know each other, and they would say, I want to talk to you about my sister. My sister died 15 years ago, and we were so close, and this is what I summoned. I want to talk to you about my father. I want to talk to you about my mother. I want to talk to you about a dear friend. And it ended up being incredibly emotional. And then there was one person who hadn't spoken. Her name is Jenny Bear. Everybody in the circle had gone on. Everybody stood up next to the empty chair. Everybody talked about their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, their friend who wasn't there. All very emotional. And then Jenny Bear started speaking. And she was so emotional. She said, my grandmother just passed away. My grandmother was a survivor. She was the only member of her family who survived the Holocaust. And then she shared the following story It's an implausible story, it's an improbable story, but it's her family story. She said, my grandmother was able to survive the Holocaust because somehow she had a pearl necklace. And somehow, the family tradition is, she was able to bribe the Nazi guard with her pearl necklace. And because of that pearl necklace, she survived the camps, she survived the Shoah, she came to America, she rebuilt her life, she got married, she had children, she had grandchildren. I'm one of her grandchildren. And the family tradition is that for all the daughters and granddaughters in the family, when they marked their bat mitzvah, she would personally give them a pearl necklace. And now she's sobbing, and she unclasps the pearl necklace, and she says, my grandmother gave me this pearl necklace at my bat mitzvah. I've worn it every day ever since. I never take it off. This pearl necklace means my grandmother is always with me. Her spirit, her strength, her resilience, her energy, her ability to begin again. I need my grandmother's pearl necklace now more than ever. This is my grandmother. And she is crying. And it was just a moment I will never forget. Now, we're in the second day of Sukkot. So I wanted to invite all of us here to deepen the meaning and the meaning making of some of our remaining meals in the Sukkah by doing the Ushpizin tradition with the Elka Abrahamson and Jenny Bear dimension. That is, to think about who you would invite into your Sukkah who is not here, either not here because they passed on or not here because you've had a falling out, but somebody that you really miss and would love to bring into the sacred space of your Sukkah. And then I'd like to ask you to think about the Jenny Bear dimension, which is, what is the thing that would evoke their story? Now, the truth is, Shira and I have been living this for the last 19 months. My mother-in-law passed away in 2016. Our father-in-law passed away both in Jerusalem about 19 months ago. And after he died and we cleaned out his apartment, we took their plates and their silverware. And now every time we have a Shabbat or Chag meal, we set the table with their plates. And we set the table with their forks, knives, and spoons. And I always set the table, and I'm always aware that these plates and these forks, knives, and spoons used to be on their table in Jerusalem, and now they're on our table in Newton, and I feel a continuity. But there's one other thing as well. And this is my Ushpizin, to think about our Father, which is this Kiddush cup. It's a Kiddush cup that says simply Knesset HaRabbanim, which is the rabbinical assembly, and then it says Nasi, president. And every Shabbat evening and Chag evening, including last night in the Sukkah, I just put this out. We don't use it, we don't drink from it, we don't make Kiddush from it. We just have it as kind of a physical reminder of our Father. And when I look at it, I think about both the similarities and continuities, of which there are plenty, and also significant differences between me and my father-in-law. The similarities are obvious. We both love Shira a lot, and we both love Judaism a lot, and Shabbat, and Jewish community, and learning Torah, and Israel, and meals with family and friends. But there are also, I would say, stylistic, substantive, and social differences between me and my father-in-law. Stylistic, he was raised in a generation which is much more formal. Everybody called him Rabbi Goodman. Nobody called him Arnold. I think I might have once heard my mother-in-law call him Arnold, once. But other than that, everybody called him Rabbi Goodman. I only go by Wes. Substantive, my father-in-law was a national rabbi. He worked on issues of resonance to the movement like egalitarianism. He was a pulpit rabbi for 50 years, and he went to the Rabbinical Assembly Convention 50 times. He literally never missed. And when he retired, he had a chapter of 20 years of retirement. He went to the Rabbinical Assembly Convention 17 times. He missed the last 3 only because of his failing health. But all the years he was working and most of the years that he was retired, and he was in Israel, he would fly in from Israel in retirement to go to Rabbinical Assembly conventions in the Concord or Atlanta or wherever it was. I've never been to a Rabbinical Assembly convention. Not a day, not a session. I'm entirely local. You can find me here 7 days a week. And then there's a social difference. My father-in-law, I think also it's generational. He was raised to think that if you're a rabbi, your friends are rabbis. Your friends are other rabbis. And he maintained a respectful difference and distance with congregants. And that's, all of our best friends are here, are members of the shul. It's just not a divide that is meaningful to us. So I look at this Ushpizin object, this Kiddush cup, and I think about what we have in common and our respectful but loving differences. And I think it gets to the meaning of what it means to love somebody, which is to love somebody does not mean you love somebody because they're just like you. To love somebody means to love somebody who is very different from you, who has different accents and different syllables and different emphases, and you love them in all of their totality. So here is what I want to invite you to do. Resurface this Ushpizin deal. I'm telling you, it's really meaningful. And ask, who would you want to invite to your Sukkah? And what thing would you bring that would evoke their story? And when you look at your thing, what are the commonalities and similarities? And what are the significant differences between you and the person you love? And how do you process it all? Because Larry Bacow, in his beautiful words to us before Ne'ilah, pointed out that the obligation to honor our parents does not end when our parents die. Our obligation to honor our parents is as long as we are alive. So, with the remaining days of Sukkot, let's lift up our loved ones' legacy. Let's name it. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's debate it. Let's bump up against it. And let's continue to love their ongoing influence in our lives. Chag Sameach.